you depend on adverts from that particular beverage company. So these are issues that we need to discuss with an objective mindset. From the meetings we have had with my colleagues, yes, there might be some elements of government interference, but I'm telling you, it's no longer the same as it was 30, 40 years ago. Things have changed. Because, Karim, if we run public service broadcasters who are dictated to what to tell people, what to report and what to broadcast, it means they will lose audiences very soon. So of what use will they be? Not the government, not anyone will benefit to have a public service broadcaster which is not relevant to the society. So I thought I should actually add that and then give it to my president to respond.
Yes, thank you very much, Farouk. Maybe let me start with the aspect of, is it media press freedom as it relates, most probably to journalism. And let me focus quickly on the Namibian situation. In Africa, Namibia is rated #1 when it gets to media freedom. #1 in Africa. I think globally, talking under correction, we're somewhere 23, 24, 25. And the reason why that is there is simple. Is that we do report on issues affecting Namibians in the country. And it wouldn't matter from where that emanates. Could be from ordinary people. It could be from politicians. It could be from those that are running the country. What we always will do is those that are responsible for issues, they get interrogated and they need to respond to that. So it wouldn't matter who you are, what you do, including myself. If there's something wrong or a perception that things are not working, that is what it should be. And then, of course, based on our own editorial framework, particularly as the NBC, part of the tenets of covering is to make sure that no Namibian, in the case of Namibia, will be ridiculed in whatever form of broadcast that we do. And as I said, if there's something that is not good, we need to report on it. If there's something that is great, we also need to report on it. We are not there to take sides and say, this you can't do, this you can't do. Just about a week back, we launched the NBC Plus. And at that meeting, our Minister of ICT, who's also responsible for broadcasting at political level, emphasized the aspect of balanced reporting from the media in general, seeking to say that nobody says that people should not report on what government in this instance, in that particular instance, does. But all they are asking for is that when you report, just make sure that your stories do not just go one way. Give them a right for their own to reply as well. Now, relative to where our sister countries are in relation to the broadcasters, I would assume the same principles apply. And one of the positions that we are having is that we will not interfere in the internal affairs of a particular country. At the SABA level, we do discuss these matters to say that, look, the way things have moved, and as Dr. Chacha has said, what will be the use of now hiding things? Because everybody today who has a smartphone can report. So if you are a government and you will decide not to share information, it will go out there. Your challenge is that if you don't come back and case somewhere, we at NBC, well, I don't want to brag, but what is happening of late is that if there's something happening, she's saying. So we have become some way a validation point. Now, the issue of funding. In the case of Namibia, our government subsidizes us with 70% of our operation to about $5.1 million US. Times, at the best of times, you will find that the corporates don't support what you do in public broadcasting, not because they don't want to. It's because they have a skewed view of who and what you are. But what we've been doing for the past 3 years, we have put the NBC as a brand there. We are seeing now a lot of people coming on board. Everybody wants to be there now, based on us doing that which we believe is okay. So we are hoping that with the actions that we are taking, we can also slowly lessen the dependency that we have on government from a funding perspective. But at the same time, we will not want to sort of like do away with the principles that we are standing for, because in terms of our representation, we must make sure that everybody is properly covered, they are seen, and they are heard, and they have that right to reply as well. So it's more or less where it is. So the myth, at the best of times, where will you hear people saying, so-and-so has been called to do that and that? It cannot. These things will come to the fore, and they will embarrass people. So even us as CEOs, I think we have also what I call integrity. I wouldn't be doing this job if I didn't believe in the stance that I have as a human being, because it wouldn't matter. In my own country, I'm also a citizen. So I must act in a way that will seek to say, if this is my fellow citizen, I must also make sure that they are protected as well. Hence, when there are issues, talk about them, raise them. And of late, our government passed a law that says that government entities shall give access to information. And we have seen an amplified presence of government institutions, officials, up to level of ministers now coming forward, talking and sharing. Because ultimately, it wouldn't matter who runs a country. People need to know what these programs are. And the public broadcaster up to now has always had that interest in mind, which you will not find with commercial entities, because their mandate is different. They must make money. Thank you.
Thank you for that appropriate response to the question by my colleague, Farouk. And by the way, Farouk, the concept of public service is such, there are people who don't think public service in general should get involved in any business, like advertisement business. And you'll be surprised, those that we try to emulate here in Africa, for example, BBC has a public service part of it, and it has a commercial part of it. So the public service is entitled to public funding, but the commercial part of it should run itself with commercial strategies. And that's exactly how it is. Even in Tanzania, currently, there's a draft legislation in the process which will establish TBC as a public service media in Tanzania. And through that, we are going to have a source of funding for funding public service activities. My president said so rightly, there are things we do that private media cannot necessarily do. They may do, but often they don't. For example, we will make sure we have infrastructure even in places where there are no, or populations are scanty. But we have an obligation to have infrastructure there, because no matter the number, those people have the right to information. And it is public service that has an obligation. It's not an option. And we also have an obligation to make sure that we prepare content, a huge percentage of content. Why am I being negative about that? I'm just saying we are different. You will find a number of private media that focus on entertainment and sometimes foreign content. And I'm not saying foreign content is a bad thing, but I'm just saying what percentage. But we have an obligation, and that's why we have to exist. Now, my final point on that before I interpret what my president said is the fact that we still have to be relevant. If we cannot strive to be relevant, if we allow ourselves to become irrelevant simply because we are public service, then, well, we will be doomed. And not only us as public service media, but as societies, we will be doomed. Because the benefits that we are there to provide will not be provided for. Sasa na tafsiri kwa Kiswahili, Rais amesema Namibia ni namba 1 kwenye uhuru wa vyombo vya habari. Na hii ni kweli kwa sababu ya nature. Wao hawakupitia yale ambayo nchi zingine za Afrika zilipitia. Nchi zingine za Afrika zilipitia, wao walipata uhuru mwaka 90, si mnafahamu? Nchi zingine za Afrika zilipitia ile mwanze kwanza mjenge umoja. Sasa uwezi ukajenga umoja na vyombo ambavyo vina uhuru wa kujisemea chochote. Mnajenga umoja kwa kuwa na focus ya kwenda pahala, mtaminyana kwa muda fulani mpaka muwe wamoja kama tulivyokuwa wamoja, si ndio? Anasema siku zote wanatoa haki kwa pande zote. Kama mtu akisemwa vibaya wanatoa haki kwa upande huu, na ametumia neno wana balance. Anasema hivi karibuni waziri wao wa habari na tehama alieleza hivyo kuhusu umuhimu wa kuhakikisha kwamba kila mtu Namibia anatendewa haki. Na anasema dunia ya leo ni serikali gani inayotumia akili inaweza ikataka kukandamiza habari katika mazingira ambayo tuna mitandao ya kijamii, kuna vyombo vingine vingi. Faruku, yani itokee serikali inasema, mimi zamani ni kweli hapa Tanzania na nchi zingine, nilikuwa nasema pahala leo ajali imetokea ya treni, watu 36 wamekufa. Kuna mtu serikalini huko anasema kata hiyo 6 ibaki 3. Kwa hiyo na anasema hivyo kwamba kama unataka uwe na chombo ambacho ni irrelevant, sisi tukakae pale kwa sababu ni TBC, tunasema watu 3 wamekufa, alafu ile 6 imekatwa na nani? Na mtu amekaa kwenye kiyoyozi huko hajui hata kimetokea nini, si ndio? Sawa. Kwa hiyo na anasema kwa kufanya hivyo wamepata watu wengi sana wanawafuata. Na mimi niseme tu, mimi niko TBC. Kuna wakati watu wa kutangaza matangazo, makampuni walitukimbia, lakini nakwambieni sasa hivi wanakuja, wanarudi, si wanaona? Si kuna vyombo vipo vinaangalia utazamwaji, usikilizwaji, si ndio? Kwa hiyo naamini hii mikutano tunayofanya inatusaidia pia kubadilishana mawazo na kuelezana ukweli. Yani sio kukaa na kupambana. Yani we pamba each other, sio kupambana kwamba na tukitoka hapo tunakuwa na maazimio na tunawaeleza viongozi wetu serikalini. Na tunashukuru sisi katika nchi yetu tuna viongozi ambao wanasikiliza, na ndio maana nafikiri rais wetu mliona kwenye mambo ya uhuru wa habari. Rais Samia kwa mfano alifungulia magazeti, akazungumza kwamba zile kanuni zirekebishwe za mitandao. Sasa hivi mitandao imekuwa mingi tena, bila kujali kwamba athari zake ni nini, lakini principle ya kwanza ni kwamba tuwe na uhuru, kwa sababu ni ndani ya huo uhuru ndipo watu watakapojifunza kwamba kumbe hapa kidogo tunaharibu. Hebu sisi wenyewe ambao tulitaka uhuru na tumekuwa nao tuangalie namna ya kurekebisha. Ndugu zangu, nitumie fursa hii kuwashukuru sana. Tuna mkutano mwingine ambao sasa rais ndio mwenyekiti wetu. Kwa hiyo tunawashukuru sana kwa kweli, tunawashukuru kwa maswali, tunaomba tuendelee. I said, Faruku, TBC tunatafuta mwakilishi.